Well, how's it going? Hello, 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 everyone. Long time no see. How's everyone doing? We have an amazing stream for you today. I really mean that. They're all amazing, of course, but this one's going to be really, really practical, helpful, and to the point. For me also. We're going to talk about what is the path of magic for adults, for normal-ass sane adults. It's not about doing spells and like wacky Hollywood stuff like that. It's about turning your life into a masterpiece. It's about living the life that you were meant to live, not having anything you want, not breaking the laws of physics. It's about using the entire power of your being to direct your entire life in the direction that it was meant to be. A lot of people look at magic and they look at techniques and they want this and they want that and they want little things. Magic's about your whole life. Magic is about the alchemical path of turning the lead of the life that you've been given by random circumstance and happenstance into the gold, the reflective gold that is a testament to your pure will. Okay, easier said than done, but it's actually pretty simple when you break it down, and we're about to get into that. We're going to talk about what are you supposed to do? It's not just like, can you do a lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram or a sigil or something? That's all beside the point. The question is, how are you supposed to live your life magically? How can you live your life as an act of magic, as an act of will? Well, consider this like a short free mini class in just that. Public outreach. So, a couple bits of housekeeping. Like and subscribe, everyone, please. You know how it goes. You know the drill. You've watched YouTube before. Also, I haven't abandoned you. Don't worry. I've been doing less streams, but that's because Temple and I went to Philadelphia to get married. It was awesome. We got married in a Masonic Thelemic ceremony in an Egyptian Masonic hall, as you do, right, when you're a magician. It was a beautiful ceremony. I'm very, very happy. I'm a happy man, and yeah, sorry, I'm taken now. And we are also preparing the solstice working, which will happen on the solstice for those of you who are in the equinox working, which will be a 2-day live magical working, and we are preparing for you the Black Friday deal. That's right. I have a hell of a deal for you this year. I know that I turn into like Mr. Hype Pitch Man every year. I'm aware of that. Okay, I get it. But I actually mean this. I always mean it. But this is a hell of a deal. It's a completely restructured deal that I've never offered before. If you followed my work, and maybe you've been looking at things like Adept Initiative 1 and 2, some of the mega courses, Mastering Meditation, Fortuna Working, Introduction to Magic, Alchemy of Chaos, things like that. You're going to be very, very happy, because if those things were not accessible to you before, they will be very accessible to you on Black Friday. But I'm not going to tell you the deal yet. We're not going to announce it until Monday. However, I will say this. It's going to be first come, first serve, because it's a really good price, and I can't just give away everything. So there's limited slots for particularly the higher packages. However, if you're a paid subscriber of the channel, you get to get in early. You get to get on the deal like 4 or 5 days before everyone else. So if you want to make sure you get these deals, which believe me, if you've been looking at my stuff on magic.me, and thinking about it and you're on the fence, you're going to want to get these deals. Just trust me on that. You're going to be very happy. If you want to make sure that you get those before they run out, join the YouTube channel. And of course, it supports the channel, so we can keep doing it also. All right. So make sure you're subscribed. All right, let's talk about magic for sane-ass adults. All right. So what are we going to do here? I have taken the Book of the Law, which is the central text of magic for our age. You don't have to like the author, by the way, because it came through him, not from him. It is the central, and this just for me has been proven true time and time again. It is the central working text of magic for the 21st century and beyond. It's magic for the space age. It's magic for humanity waking up to its godlike powers. It's not old medieval LARPy Renaissance fair magic. It's the magic of dealing with space travel, artificial intelligence, mass media, disinformation, all of this stuff. So I've taken that and I've extracted everything that the book actually says to do. There's not going to be any poetic coded language here, no Kabbalah, none of that. I've taken out what does the book actually say to do, and then I've cross-indexed that with Crowley's old and new comment. He did two commentaries on the Book of the Law in his life. I've cross-indexed both of them and distilled it down to the bare essence. I'm going to close the chat. Everyone behave in chat. Behave. But of course, well, I guess we haven't set up a super chat. Don't worry about super chatting. Just subscribe and join the channel so you can get the deal. Okay, don't forget about super chats this time. Just become a channel supporter. Okay, so I've gone through there and I've simplified it down to the most basic stuff. And what has come out of it is basically an orientation towards life. It doesn't require you to wear funny robes or say special words or do Masonic ceremonies or any of that. It's an orientation towards life that anybody can adopt. Now, I personally believe if you can't explain something simply in a way that anybody could understand, you do not understand it. So this will be a good test for me. All right, we're going to have 6 major sections on this. Section number 1, the core orientation you're supposed to adopt, your core outlook. What is the core outlook of somebody on the magical path? Number 1, you've probably heard this. You must take as your central axiom, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. What does that mean? It doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. It doesn't mean there's no rules. It doesn't mean it's all up for grabs. No. What that means is God had a purpose in putting you here. There's something you're supposed to do while you're here. It might not be a huge thing. It might just be raising a family. It might be writing a book. It might be setting an example for your community. It might be being a great artist or a great business person or a great politician or academic or something. But it's deeper than that. It's deeper than like your job. It's your soul's purpose. Your soul had a purpose in coming here to this crazy world that we both find each other in. It's not random, although it certainly seems that way at the beginning, and we'll talk that way. We'll talk about that. No, there's something that your soul is supposed to express or be in this lifetime. That's your will. We call that the true will, and we say true will to differentiate it from like I will to drink some tea or something like that, or I will to get some money or get a job. That's the lower will. That's want. That's want. The true will is your purpose for existing, right? Now, of course, you're not going to know that when you're a little kid, right? You're not going to know it when you're a teenager. In fact, it's probably going to be kind of confusing when you're an adult. But when you look back, try this as an experiment. Look back on your life and understand how, if you really think about it, it probably couldn't have been any other way for you to get here, right? It's kind of one of those hindsight is 20/20 things. However, if you polish your glasses really well through the practices of magic and yoga, you can get pretty damn clear on what it is. And somebody who's doing that, doing their true will live a life of magic. And don't take my word for it. This is something you need to experience. It's very true. The universe unfolds like clockwork for those who are doing their true will. Now that's a much higher form of magic than blah, 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 all that nonsense. The second part of that is love is the law, love under will. What does this mean? It means everything that is divided to unite, and that opposites, including cognitive opposites, must be united through acts of will. More specifically, let's step that down a bit. It means that, yes, as the Beatles said, all you need is love, and that love is the most important thing in the universe. It is the most important energy because love is the only thing that can unite opposites. And however, you'll notice that it's love under will, meaning it must be willed. It does not empty emotional sentimentality. And it requires an act of will. People expect love to come to them. Let me tell you, it's not just going to fall in your lap. You really got to work hard at it. So put simply, that means the only ultimate rule of your existence is to discover and carry out your true will, meaning your deepest inherent purpose. Notice I say your, it's not universal. It's not one size fits all, because you're your own unique individual being. And this is the path this is a path towards God for the individual. And that love and union should itself be an expression of that will. All right, next part. Every man and woman is a star. So, meaning, see yourself, if you can, look up at the night sky, look at all the stars, and consider, just as a thought experiment, that each one of those stars is a person, right? Or the soul of a person, perhaps. And notice how all the stars in the sky have their own fixed orbits. They have their own patterns that they follow that are natural to them, right? And you, just like everyone else, you're one of those. So what does that mean in practice? That means to treat yourself as an independent center of consciousness. Independent center. Not subservient to somebody else's will, not groveling to some ideology, but an independent center of consciousness. And that you have a specific path set out for you, as we discussed. You're not a sinner or a servant just sitting around waiting for orders. No, the kingdom of heaven is already within. God is trying to express through you, just like everyone else. That doesn't mean you're God, by the way. It just means that the divinity of the universe consistently expresses through all of us. And that's why it is critical to see other people as stars as well, equal to you. Not to be conquered, not to be served, but equal to you, but with their own independent orbits. Everyone's got their own true will, and it's a little different for everyone. That means no controlling other people, no micromanaging, and for the love of Thelema, don't try to save people. There's no such thing as saving people. Because everyone's got their own divine will. Everyone's got their reason for being here. And if it doesn't make sense to you, well, maybe you should mind your own business and focus on your own path rather than trying to interrupt somebody else's. Because the greatest sin from the magical perspective is to get in the way of somebody else's true will. And we're going to talk about that too. Interference with other people's will is pure sin. So it's your job to keep your own orbit, the orbit of your own star, clear and not crashing into others unnecessarily. And this really does come with maturity as a human also. And fourth for this section, existence is joy. In many of these old religious paradigms, which I'm not against, right? But let's take fire and brimstone evangelical Protestant Christianity, right? Or Islam or things like this. There's this even some occult paths like Gnosticism or esoteric Buddhism really have this fetish for suffering. They really do. They really, really want to let you know that existence is suffering and you need to be saved from it. And man, it sucks down here. Well, the magical viewpoint is, no, man, it's awesome here. I mean, come on. Look, like we're talking about magic on YouTube. That's awesome, right? Existence is joy, including the hard parts. And there are lots of hard parts in life. There are parts in life that seem impossible to get through. Like they'll wreck you forever. But like we said, then maybe you look back 5-10 years later and you realize that, that's exactly what I needed. I needed to be humbled. I needed my path to shift. I needed to be pulled out of that job. I needed to, that relationship was over. I needed to get out of it so that I could go to the next part of my path. It makes sense in retrospect. And then you can say, particularly if you're actively pursuing your true will, existence is joy. And there's the magical orientation is a very deep orientation towards existence of love, of being in love with being alive, of being in love with existence, of dancing with the universe, of understanding deep down, and this is the most critical part, hear me here, understanding that the universe loves you and does not hate you. There's a lot of people out there, for religious reasons or not, who are convinced that they are all alone in an uncaring universe that hates them. But it's not true. That's an ego trip, by the way. Thinking the universe hates you, what an ego trip. Like the universe cares about you, it's going to single you out like in the book of Job, right? Life is full of struggle. But what a ride. What an adventure. It's all joy, even the sorrow. So don't be afraid to go through the hard parts. Because you got to eat your vegetables too, down here on Earth. Okay, number 2 of our 6 sections. Discovering and doing your true will. So we've talked about the concept of the true will. Great. Where do you go from that? What does that mean? Why don't you know already? All right. So number 1, being a magician is more than just accepting a philosophy. There's a lot of work. You have to do the work. And specifically, we call, and not just in Thelema, but the entire Western esoteric tradition, we refer to our path as the great work, capital G, capital W. Because we understand that, to put it in biblical terms, God helps those who help themselves. God helps those who help themselves. Meaning, you got to try. Or as Crowley puts it, this is the task of the adept, to have the knowledge and conversation of his holy guardian angel, to become aware of his nature and his purpose, fulfilling them. All right, now what does that mean? Let's take some of the jargon out. That means, in addition to, there are many, many specific magic practices, for instance, ones you can learn at magick.me, but in very basic terms, 1, you need to make it the core of your life, the core goal of your existence. Before you know what it's for, you must dedicate your life to the serious central goal of knowing who and what you really are at the deepest level. Now, other religious traditions might call that the quest for God. Eastern traditions might call it the path for enlightenment, right? But in practice, these things are a little too abstract and a little too totalizing, right? And easily turned into cartoon and fanciful versions of what they are. So just consider this. You must make it the serious and central goal of your life to know who you really are at the deepest level. And you need to make it a serious goal to know what that true self, what that deepest self, what it's for, what it wants to do, what it's pushing you to do. And you know what it is. By the way, it manifests always as the quiet voice, not the loud chatter in your head. It comes through the silent knowing. The silent knowing that many people spend their entire life trying to ignore and get away from, with literally any distraction known to man. It comes in dreams, it comes in knowing, in moments of unmistakable knowing. And then, of course, as you get closer and closer to that, to rebuild the temple of your life, to rebuild your entire life around that central goal. Not serving some jackass's idea of what you should do with your life. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Right? Well, consider that you have anteed the chip of your soul. You've already anteed your soul at the table of your existence. So don't let somebody take it from you. Play the game you came here to play. Understand what you're meant to do and then rebuild your life around it, not somebody else's will. Your will. That's why magic is not a cult. It's not a religion. It's not even an organization. We don't even have, outside of a few examples, there's barely any organizations about it. There's the OTO and all of that, but you don't need that, right? In fact, it often just gets in the way and confuses people. It's a path for the individual. And we have an understanding that will, that central will, is not going to, your will is not the same as mine. It's not, your will is none of my business. I can give you tools to get closer to it, but my will is none of your business, and yours is not my business. But we can understand that we are all equally children of God, if you want to put it that way. And those of us who are actively pursuing that often can help each other out and do form what the Buddhists called the Sangha. I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, or as we call it, the Illuminati. All right, next. Next step in discovering and doing your true will. Solving your complexes. Here's where the real fun begins. Make no mistake, by the time we leave home, we're pretty fucked up, right? Yes, we come into this world pure and innocent and all that, although we do not have our higher cognitive faculties. We don't have independent ability to control the world around us. We're dependent upon others. Our brains are not fully formed. So let's just say this. By the time your brain has fully formed at the age of 25, it's probably got all kinds of bad data in it. And a lot of that comes in the form of programming from parents, from school, from jobs, basically from people telling you who and what you should be, who don't know that. Nobody knows that but you. You know, think about your high school guidance counselor. I got about 3 minutes with my high school guidance counselor. He's like, what do you want to do with your life? I want to do something creative. Military photographer. Luckily for you, I didn't listen to him. Nobody knows, nobody. You could go to some guru high up on a mountain. They're not going to know what the purpose of your life is. They're not. Only you can know that. And you have to work at it to get to it. And that work essentially is often quite mundane and unromantic. Things like, for instance, deep introspective work, going to therapy, journaling, right? Doing whatever it takes to untangle your neuroses, your loops of guilt and shame that hold you back from becoming all that you can be, your internal contradictions. NLP can be very helpful with that. Your internal confusion, right? Because if your wires are all crossed from bad external programming, because by the way, it's not like just your parents give you a bad program. No, it's like your parents give you a program, school gives you a program on top of that, peers give you a program on top of that, media gives you God knows what. And now people are growing up in the age of the smartphone. My God. Yeah. P.S. Porn does not count as love under will. That counts as corrosion. And that will corrode your will. There's all kinds of drugs out there that will take you further and further away from. There's distractions. There's madness. There's these political things. There's all this crap out there that wants nothing more than to take you away from what you're meant to do. So your goal here, the goal of all this work is really simple. It's to be simpler. The goal of doing things like therapy, introspective work, journaling, self-help, self-growth, whatever it is. I mean, it's something different for everyone. Whatever it takes to untangle yourself and open up the gates of your own vaults, you got to do that. So that you can have a simpler, more unified character with which to express your will, right? Real simple. Okay, next. And here's where more work comes in, training and stilling the mind. That's key, right? Because if you really check in, man, your mind is a bedlam, isn't it? It's all over the place. It's all over the place. If you really sit and watch your mind throughout the day, it's just pure chaos. That's because your brain is just another organ, right? And it's full of, and it was raised, it evolved to deal with the Serengeti, and now it's got to deal with things like now it's got to deal with things like AI bots and that type of insanity and social media. We're just not wired for that. But as Crowley puts, we must regulate the motion of the mind, control it, and bring it to a standstill. Because it's only when you quiet the mind that, if you think back to what I was just saying, that voice of the silence, that quiet voice, that voice of your intuition, the voice of your soul, that doesn't speak in words, but speaks in knowing, just silent knowing, then that can come forth, and that will guide your life. But you got to get this to shut up. At least enough to get little windows where you can, okay, check in and make sure that you're not off the rails. What does that mean? It means you got to meditate. You got to practice concentration and meditation every day, right? And many people go through intensive periods of this, and then they may go through upkeep periods or maybe an intensive period. But meditation and mindfulness, learning to notice and then control the mind, you can't do magic without that. You can do magic, but it's going to be for delusion. Because if you're doing external magic to get things done, it must be from that silent knowing, not from blah, 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 because this is an illusion. It's not real. Get it to shut up. Okay. Next one is acting from pure will, acting to act instead of chasing results, lust of result, worrying about the outcome. For pure will is unassuaged of purpose, delivered from the lust of result. That means quit obsessing about what you're going to get. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're not doing magic to get something. You're not living to get something. Don't the things that you're doing, don't do it for money. Don't do the things that you're doing for praise. Don't do it to make other people happy. And then if you're in the occult world, for the love of God, don't do stuff just to chase grades or states, right? For Eastern mystics love to chase states, and Western mystics love to chase grades, and they're both total bullshit. Quit worrying about the outcome. This concept is expressed in the East also as karma yoga. You do what must be done simply because it must be done, and then you leave the rest to God. You don't worry about what the outcome is. Because you're going to get all like goofy and tripping all over yourself otherwise. The point is not to get something. The point is to express what you are. And if you are living in that flow state, right? We can use modern language. If you're living in that flow state where you're expressing your core, then believe me, the doors will open for you, right? The doors in your life that if you're really truly doing your true will, the doors that you will need to go through to manifest that true will open for you. They might not open right away, but they will. Right? You don't need to actively pursue it. What you need to do is actively work on expressing in purer and truer form all the time your core, who you actually are. So it's not about getting attached to outside results. It's about expressing what's in here. That's what's important, not what you can get. It's about expressing what's in here. Come what may. Come what may. Number 9, last on this section, the fuck around find out clause. If things get in your, if things oppose your will and look like they're going to oppose it permanently, get them the fuck out of your life. Crowley compares not doing your will to cancer. Remember, your will is your purpose for existing. This is clearly one of mine, right? What I'm doing. Not doing your will would be like cancer or insanity. So if people, this gets better as time goes on, but also it gets worse. You know, we have not just digital distractions, but we have this brief reprieve from theocracy, but now it seems to be coming back in the form of Islam. That's a whole other topic. But if things in your life not once, but consistently act to sabotage your true will, they got to go. They got to go. Because that's not what God wants for you. So you have to systematically drop, restructure, or exit habits, roles, or relationships that consistently sabotage your true will. And by the way, don't pretend you can keep just a little bit, right? How much cyanide needs to go in this cup for me to die? Just a tiny, like a tip of a pencil. Oh, I want that. I want to keep that person in my life, so I'll deal with a little bit of it. There is no amount of disruption of your true will that is safe. And if people consistently disrupt your true will, they don't love you. I'm sorry to say. Very sorry. Okay, third section of how to live magically as a sane adult. Okay, what about other people? We touched on this a little bit, right? In particularly egregious cases of people restricting or binding your will. But what about relationships? What about ethics? It sounds like everything that I'm talking about is about just pure individualism, right? Got to do what you got to do, and if somebody gets in your way, well, the hell with them, right? No, not quite. All right, so here's some ethics. Number one, don't restrict. If you don't want other people to restrict your will, and you don't, trust me, you're not allowed to restrict other people's. That's sin, right? The word of sin is restriction. And specifically, anything that binds, diverts, or hinders not like a traffic jam, not like some minor inconvenience, but if something is consistently acting to get in the way of the core expression of who you are, that is sin. And it is sin if you do that to other people. Magic doesn't give you power over people at all. If you're a very, very good boy or girl and you work very, very hard, you will have power over yourself, which is a greater victory than any external victory, but it will never give you power over other people. And if you do not respect other people's paths and try to control them, well, that makes it okay to control you. Let me repeat that. If you try to control and restrict other people, that makes it okay for them to control and restrict you. And if that's the case, you can never do your true will. A sin against others is a sin against yourself. Let that be known. And let's talk about some practical ways that people do that. How do people, because will, it's not like they're going to throw you in jail, but often restriction of will comes as backhanded comments, a little slow, subtle death by 1,000 paper cuts. So if you want to be treated as an independent, autonomous being, try these on for size. Number one, do not coerce, guilt trip, or emotionally blackmail anyone. It's none of your damn business. Do not coerce, guilt trip, or emotionally blackmail anyone. It's low-level, unevolved shit anyways. It's just embarrassing. And this is critical, particularly for people living, particularly for white women. But, sorry, white liberal women. Sorry about that. Stop trying to save people. No one needs to be saved. Nobody needs to be saved. The whole trip of trying to save people is just trying to control them. That's all it is. It's trying to force them into your idea of what's good. Well, you know what? If that was their idea of what was right for them, they would already be doing it. So mind your own damn business. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law can really be rephrased. Okay. Let's say a little commentary from Uncle Jason. If you get confused about what do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, love is the law, love under will. If you get confused about what that means, here's what it means. Just do it. The Nike thing, meaning just do what you're meant to do. Just do it. And while you're at it, mind your own goddamn business. Just do it and mind your own goddamn business, because every moment spent worrying about or trying to save somebody else is not only sinning against them because you're treating them like children, but it's also sinning against yourself, because it makes it okay to do that to you. So if you're going to help somebody, the only way to truly help somebody is to act in a way that will strengthen their own autonomy and their own clarity about their path. And there is no form of help that is permanent, by the way, right? People love to try to help or save people so that they can own them. If you really respect somebody, if you really love somebody, and you have the opportunity and they ask, then the way to help them is to act to make them stronger, more autonomous, and more clear about who they are. Not to do things for them, not to save them. That's all low-level, unevolved bullshit, okay? All right. Now, this is important. This is critical because this is easy to misunderstand. Sexuality and romance, love should be based on mutual true will, not what society says, okay? Now, don't get me wrong. I am very, very, very against things like the following: sexual relations with anyone under the age of consent, abortion. Yeah, I don't like abortion. Deal with it, right? I am pro-life. Deal with it. Why? Because abortion is the whatever bullshit people tell themselves about, oh, it's a cluster of cells. No, you're violating and destroying the will of another being. And it's not your body. It's another being. It's another star. And Crowley felt the same, by the way. And go figure, yeah. So Crowley's way less evil than the average modern liberal, right? That's another star that is coming through you. You don't own it. It's not part of your body. You can't destroy it. It's not all right. That is sin. I'm against, anything that harms people, sexual coercion, sexual assault and abuse. These are horrible, horrible violations of the will of other people. So get it straight. This is not a license to do whatever you want. What it means is, here's an example, right? Let's say that you're gay and you really, really love your husband. And that's what both of you are meant to be doing. And you know that's what you're meant to be doing, no matter what anyone else tells you, then do it. And if anyone else says that you shouldn't, they can go fuck themselves. Right? Because you have two consenting adults who are engaging in a behavior that is not destroying each other, that is expressing their true will. So if you genuinely will the union, you can enjoy it without guilt. But also, that means you can't, it's not okay to own people, right? True relationships of mutual love and respect do not own. It's like if you love somebody, let them free, right? When people do this in relationships, they sin. Because relationships should be about, again, mutual true will. If one person's true will maybe changes later and it's very, very clear that they need to leave the relationship, which is very, very sad for everyone, or can be, sometimes not. But if that person needs to leave to pursue what they really need to do, and they're not, for instance, harming children by doing that, in a nasty divorce or something like that, and they're respecting the will of other people, then that you need to respect other people's true will, rather than clinging on to them because of habit, fear, or a sense of duty. So that means that the only legitimate love is that is mutually willed between the true will of two stars, and anything else but that is cursed, right? It's blurst. And that includes a lot of the destructive, Tinder, Grindr, that's not true will. That's not true love. That's just catching a nut, right? That's blurst. All right. Now this is really critical. Next part of ethics. Get over your damn pity and your pity-based self-sacrificial morality. Or as Tom Waits put it, come on, get off the cross. Like, we could use the wood. We've got houses to build, we got fires to make. Like, get off your damn cross. Nobody cares, right? If people who are poor and sad and sorroweth, and they make their whole existence about, oh, I'm so, everything is so hard for me, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody sees me. Shut the fuck up. Like, seriously. Hello, you live in the 21st century. You have all the resources possible available to you. You're watching YouTube. If you're watching YouTube, trust me, there's a YouTube out there somewhere that will fix whatever impossible problem you think you have, or reorient you in a healthy way towards it, okay? You're on YouTube, so you have all the resources. Shut the fuck up. Nobody wants to hear about how sad and poor and so, how nobody cares and all. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, okay? We care about each other as strong, independent beings. Here's a great metaphor I use for this. Imagine, as life can seem sometimes, you're on a cruise ship. and the cruise ship sinks. Now you got a bunch of people in some cold-ass water treading water. Oh, man. Oh, man. Okay, and everyone is exerting all the energy they have just to keep their head above water. Sound familiar? This is life. Okay, by the way, if you've never had a dead-end job, you would know what I'm talking about, right? Or just there's so many situations in life we can get into where it just feels we're barely keeping barely keeping ourselves afloat. I mean, that often can be all of life, right? So imagine everyone's doing this, and then some jackass comes up and starts clinging on to you, and it's like, oh my God, I can't swim. Everything's so horrible. I don't want to swim. I'm scared. Nobody cares. You have to save me. Okay, well, now you're both going to die. Because you're already exerting all of your life, aren't you, right now, to maintain your life, right? So don't do that. If someone's going to sink, let them sink. If someone's going to sink, let them sink. Because it is against the law to drag other people down with you. Seems harsh, but what's worse, one person dying or two people? You tell me. You know, whether, and by the way, that doesn't necessarily mean literally die, it can mean internally, you know, it can mean all kinds of things. So do not glorify weakness, self-pity, and victimhood in yourself or others. There's a lot of that around these days, by the way. But without getting political, weakness, self-pity, and victimhood are to be stomped on and to be stamped out. Wipe your damn nose. Wipe your nose. Life's hard for everyone. Everyone at some point in their life will face unimaginable tragedy and adversity. Everyone, right? So when you're mutually associating with your friends, let it be a mutual association of the strong, where you affirm each other's strength, not where you're clinging onto each other for dear life, because then you will all die, and life will move on without you. So again, as I mentioned before, if you want to help people, do things like I'm doing right now, right? Your life is none of my business, but it's my nature to do this, so I'm doing it. But I'm giving you words in the hope that they will strengthen your will and awaken greater strength within you. It was Nietzsche or someone else. I can't remember. By the way, if you really want to understand Thelema, yes, you need to read the Book of the Law, okay? But if you really want to understand Thelemic ethics, Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. Stoicism, go read that book. The Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. Anyone who's a practicing Thelemite ought to read that book, because it lays this out better than I ever could. And it was laid out by a Roman emperor, and who knew what he was talking about, because he had the whole Roman Empire to manage. A lot of magic in Thelema comes from Rome. There was a lot of magic in Rome. So if you help people, do it to awaken their strength and their will, not to keep them dependent or play savior. There's so much of that in our world. Oh, you poor thing, let me help you. Go fuck yourself. You know what I'm talking about. I'll move on. All right, so next part of that is people who are strong, interacting with people that are strong, people who are worthy. Treat them, when you interact with people, treat them as equal peers or equal rivals. You can respect somebody and go to war with them. Absolutely. Absolutely, right? You've heard the phrase, "we're the enemy," right? Or as the Book of the Law says, despise also all cowards. All fools despise. But the keen and the proud, the royal and the lofty, ye are brothers, as brothers fight ye. Often on Twitter. But I digress. When you're in the fight of life, when you're out there on the battlefield of life, you're on a playing field with equals. Bhagavad Gita is good about this too. There's no hierarchy, but you can play real rough. Particularly if people fuck around, they can find out. So don't lie. So you can see people as peers and rivals, but if you see them as herdsmen or herd, sheep and shepherd, you done goofed. You done goofed. The people aren't, they don't need to be saved. So people sin against themselves in little and big ways in this way all the time. They bullshit themselves their whole life. Here's an example. Wasting the energy of their life being yes men. Cringe, cringing beneath or fawning before people that you secretly despise. AKA office politics. Why would you waste your life doing that? So when you meet strong people out there, there's lots of strong, you don't need to be into magic to be a strong person. You know them when you meet them. They're awake, they're conscious, they're clearly player characters, not NPCs, right? Take them seriously. Take them seriously. And if you come into conflict with them, contend with them honestly, fight honestly, enjoy the fight. Don't be conniving, don't lie, don't be manipulative. Face life and strong people head on. And that will strengthen your will and theirs. All right, part 4. The attitude towards pleasure, your body, and supposed vices. All right, this is one you need to listen to me carefully on. The Book of the Law in particular is full of, quite in distinction to other religions. Let me start off this way. There's a lot of religions that are ascetic religions. Some, not all versions of Christianity, particularly on the Protestant side, can be very ascetic. Catholics, not so much. Pretty much all forms of Buddhism, some forms of Hinduism. There's lots of ascetic religions, Gnosticism, right, who reject the world and want to completely remove themselves from it because they see the world as sinful, evil, and fallen, or a mistake. That ain't how it works in magic. We've already discussed this. Magic is about falling in love with existence. It's not about finding, this is why the true will instead of enlightenment. It's not about finding yourself up on a mountain. Yeah, you can go do that, but so what? It's not going to help you get a job. It's not going to help you get a relationship. It's not going to help you do your true will if you don't bring it back with you, at least. Put more simply, enlightenment is not found retreating from the world. It's found by fully engaging with it. Enlightenment is not found by retreating from the world. It is found by fully engaging with it. That's a good way to look at that. So, things like sex, food, beauty, luxury, art, those can be expressions of your will. You don't need to reject those things. But don't be debauched. This is important. Or as the Book of the Law says, if thou drink by the 8 and 90 rules of art. If thou do aught joyous, let there be subtlety therein, but exceed. So bring conscious, or in other words, embrace the world, fall in love with it, and enjoy it. But be refined in your enjoyment. Make your enjoyment of life into its own art form, instead of being debauched. If you're engaging in things to numb yourself, that's not your true will. If you're engaging in pleasures to express yourself fully, that can be your true will, right? But it's not about being debauched or perverse or lecherous or a drunk or any of these things, right? That all of those things clearly impede your will and often impinge on the wills of others. So that's no good. Okay, now, importantly, the next part is you can treat sin as restriction and stagnation, not breaking rules. So, again, I've already told you some moral strictures that are far harsher than most of the people around you will ever accept. For instance, I'm pro-life. Oh no! Because I don't believe in the destruction of another star's ability to incarnate. Nobody forced you to conceive that child, and if they did, that's only 5% of cases, okay? So, 95% of abortions are elective. It's not a form of birth control. Get it straight. So I've already given you very strong, like I've already shown you that I'm essentially more conservative on a lot of these issues. Even though I'm saying do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law, I'm pretty damn conservative on a lot of these issues that other people treat as an afterthought. So go into this bearing that in mind. In Christianity, or in many religions, let me put it this way. Many religions, the ethics consist of lists of things not to do. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. In Thelema, the sin is it's not sin to not do something, or rather, it's not sinning does not mean doing something. The true sin is in not doing what you're meant to do with your life. That's the word of sin is restriction. To sin is to, or as Christ says, bring it back to Gnosticism and Christianity. Kind of Gnosticism. As Christ says in the Gospel of Thomas, that which you bring forth from you shall save you. That which you do not bring forth from you will destroy you. That which you bring forth from yourself will save you. That which you do not bring forth from you will destroy you. The word of sin is restriction. If you waste your life on passing distractions and drama and nonsense and all this shit, you can't get it back. You can't. Nobody can bring it back for you. Even if they wanted to. It's gone. It's done. It's over. Can't get it back. And what a sin it is to go through this life without expressing your core essence into the world. What a sin that is. So you need, practically speaking, you got to get rid of clinging, freezing, your fear, your shame, your overthinking, everything, because, the pit of because, asking why you should do something instead of just doing it. You got to get rid of that because all that's blocking your will. Or to put it more simply, quit self-sabotaging. Quit sabotaging yourself. Cut it out. Cut it out. Cut it out. Quit being afraid. Do the thing. Quit coming up with excuses for why you're not doing the thing, for why to not do the thing, or why to wait to do the thing. If you're coming up with excuses, what does that mean? That means you're attached to the outcome. Do the thing. Maybe nothing happens. Who cares? You still express yourself, right? So let go of self-sabotaging guilt about harmless joy or about expressing who you are, as long as it actually supports your will and respects others' freedom. All right, next part. Intoxicants and drugs. The book of the law, so attitude towards intoxicating substances. I would be lying if I told you that these were not things that people experimented with. I would also be lying to you if I told you that they were necessary, because that's a question for each individual person as to what their will is. In working out the inner complexes of oneself, maybe something like an MDMA, or particularly a guided under a psychedelic therapist, maybe something like an MDMA experience under a trained therapist would really do you a lot of good. Consequently, maybe never doing drugs and leaving your brain alone, maybe that might be your path, and that would do you a lot of good. Maybe you've adopted a drug habit, as people often do, that's slowing you down, that's getting in the way. Yeah, I had to quit weed 2 weeks ago. It was interesting. So this is key. In the book of the law, it says hadit, which is, we'll get to that, means the center of consciousness. It's a little more complex than that, but hadit says to worship, meaning that the true inner self, says to worship it by taking wine and strange drugs. Okay, listen carefully to Uncle Jason. The key phrase there is strange. Strange drugs doesn't mean weird shit you buy off the dark web. Strange means you haven't seen it before. So if you're addicted to something, is it a strange drug anymore? No, it's not strange anymore. Three years into a heroin addiction, you're pretty damn familiar with it, right? It's not a strange drug anymore. So notice that subtly contains within it a prohibition on addiction. a prohibition on addiction, because that will block your will. So if you're going to use alcohol, here's a more modern, sane interpretation, right? If you're going to use things like alcohol or other substances in the pursuit of your true will, do it legally, do it responsibly, and do it as a ritual and as a sacrament. Or as Bill Hicks said it, you know, if you're going to take mushrooms, no, you do it five dried grams in silent darkness, and you make it a sacred ritual. Don't take it and be like, I took mushrooms and went to Astro World, and I had a real bad time. Don't take drugs to party. That's a total waste of them. They can be tools for unlocking the inner self, but if you're just taking them to numb out or party, nope, that's not what it's about. You got to cut that shit out. And any use of alcohol or other substances that destroys your capacity to know and do your will, or that harms you or harms others, you got to cut that shit out. That's not what it's about. So, long way of saying, yes, there are substances that can be, there are substances you can use that in the right context may be, not for everyone, but may be for some people helpful in them. For instance, let's say in the case of the example of the guided MDMA experience, help them break through a childhood trauma, okay? Or a vet who is breaking through PTSD, or just anyone who's suffering from PTSD, breaking through that with a guided MDMA experience, as hopefully will be legal, more legal than it is now around the world, because that could really do a lot of people a lot of good. That is not the same thing as whiling out on spring break, okay? It's not the same thing. Make it a sacrament. Okay, now, the part everyone's been waiting for, part 5 of 6. Rituals. Magic rituals, feasts, and devotional behavior. Like, what the hell is all this shit? You talk about magic, but you're just telling me to, like, a basic philosophy in life? Like, I thought it was, where's all the spells and shit, man? All right. What is ritual? Ritual is something you do repeatedly, right? Ritualistically. It's something that you do. So what's an example, right? I mean, obviously brushing your teeth, but let's just take let's say if you're Catholic and you go to Catholic Mass once a week. That's a ritual that attunes you to a certain frequency that can be very helpful for a lot of people. So let the rituals be rightly performed with joy and beauty. So it's important to establish regular ritual work. And that can be Thelemic rituals, it can be your own rituals, it can be whatever, right? But you need to do it well. Ritual is one of the oldest expressions of self that humans have access to. There are even animals that perform actions that can be taken as ritual. I can't remember which ones. For some reason, I'm thinking crabs, but I don't think that's it. It's too much Crowley. But ritual, in addition, like yoga, right? Yoga is about going internal. Ritual is about, and artists understand this perfectly right away, right? Ritual is about, like, because the artistic process is very similar, right? Ritual is about externalizing, taking what's in here and externalizing it in a way that is intelligible. And regular ritual work is a great way to steer your path through life and make sure you're consistent and on it. And yes, classic rituals like banishings, whether that's Golden Dawn or Thelemic rituals, are really, really helpful for getting things out of your life that are impeding your will, right? Or just, other people's negative energy as hygienic, right? Because that other people's negative energy is a way bigger deal than you might think, right? You can't tolerate that shit. Do some banishing rituals and notice how you feel better. Next part is keep the feasts of the times. So the Book of the Law does have holy days. And those are specifically the feasts of the prophet and his bride, the feast of the 3 day of the writing of the Book of the Law, the equinox of the gods, feast for elements, for life, for death, and a feast every day in your hearts, every night unto new meaning the universe, the loving universe. But specifically, let's just take the basics, right? Equinoxes and solstices. You should be celebrating each equinox and each solstice, just to get back in touch with the natural cycle of things and of nature, and marking 4 points in the year where you can check in on yourself and see if you're staying on track or not. Celebrate those. Celebrate, and yeah, like enjoy it. Have a, and of course, at Magick.me, we're doing this. We're going to do every equinox and every solstice as a live 2-day working. And the solstice working is coming up on December 20th, 21st. So a great way to do that is, frankly, to do it, to join our workings, right? Because they're awesome. Of course, you don't have to, but we're putting a ton. Temple is putting a ton of work into the solstice working. She's been working on it for like a month now, or plus a while. She really cares about you guys. And everyone on the Discord, you know that because you interact with her. She's very good at what she does. She's a professional body worker. She really cares about you guys, and she's putting together something that you're really gonna get a lot out of. So that the tickets aren't on sale for that yet, but as I mentioned at the beginning, Black Friday is coming. And we're going to be announcing our deals that we have on. Well, actually, we're going to be announcing the deals Thursday, but they're not going to be going. So if you're on the mailing list, you'll get to find out what the deal is in 2 days. If you're not on the mailing list, go to start.magick.me, start.magick.me, and get on the mailing list so that you get alerted when they go live. But they will not be available for purchase until Black Friday itself. And there's only going to be a limited number of tickets. So make sure you get your tickets. And if you really want to get your tickets, if you become a paid subscriber of the YouTube, you get to get tickets early on Monday, or everyone else has to wait till Friday. And that means you get the best discount for not waiting, and it also means you can be sure that you're going to get tickets before they sell out. So that's that. By the way, that's any tier of supporter of the channel. You can support at the lowest level if you want. Of course, we appreciate it when people support higher, but any member, all of the members at whatever level of support will get early access on Monday. All right. Also, celebrate births and deaths as sacred transitions. Deaths as well. You know, it's like the Thelemic attitude towards death. It's like, well, the star has moved on and will incarnate again to continue its work. So, and here's an even better way to think about it. Practice gratitude. Be grateful. Internally, externally, but most importantly, internally, be grateful every day. Practice gratitude. I know it sounds new agey. I know it sounds hallmarky. I know it sounds basic, but believe you me, there is no better way. I mean this, because I've stress tested this, believe you me. There is no better way to improve your life on a day-to-day basis than being grateful. Grateful to the people around you, grateful to God, grateful for even the adversities in life. Say thank you, right? Instead of instead of constantly complaining about what you don't have and asking, I need this, I need this, I need this, try being grateful. Because the rest will come if you really need it. And when you're grateful, you realize you don't really need a whole lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff you might think you're missing in your life. But when you practice gratitude for what you have, you pretty quickly realize you don't actually need those things. A feast in the heart, a feast every day in your hearts, and every night unto new. Be grateful to the universe. Look, at the end of the day, if you're alive, if you're breathing, if you're watching this, you got a lot to be grateful for. You got a whole lot. You got a whole lot to be grateful for. All right. Inward daily feasting, moments of deliberate joy, gratitude, and ecstasy. All right. Now we're going to get into a little bit of cosmology, but not too much. Invoke me under my stars. Love is the law, love under will. So the Thelemic Trinity, if you will, let's just talk about the first two. The first two, quote-unquote, gods of Thelema are expressions, they're both expressions of infinity. It's Nuit, which represents the infinite universe, the whole big everything and nothing, this thing that we're in, which is represented as a loving goddess, right? As many other religions represent it. You know, Lalita in Hinduism. This big conscious loving universe we're in, that's the goddess. the infinite out, and then hadit, which is the smallest, the infinite inward, inner space. You can be an outer space cadet and you can be an inner space cadet. The infinitely small point, which is also the center of consciousness, which we all have, oddly enough, paradoxically, or as I think Pascal put it, existence is a phenomena whose circumference is everywhere, whose circumference is nowhere and whose center is everywhere. Without getting too complex. So worship those things. Worship those things. Worship this infinite, conscious, loving universe we're in. And worship the center of consciousness that is beyond what you are, that is simultaneously, paradoxically, in everyone you meet. Just call it the spark of consciousness if you want to be simple. That's God. The spark of divinity in everyone. That's God, okay? And this infinite that we're in, that's God too. It's all God. Everything's God. Don't get it twisted and think you're uniquely God, because you ain't, okay? You ain't. But we are all part of this thing, this vast divine machine at every level. Worship it. Worship it. It's pure ecstasy. Life is ecstasy. It's joy. I don't understand how people can look and not see that. Yes, people go through horror, but at the end of the day, you're alive, okay? It's beautiful. So that means you can go, you know what? Here's simple practice for you. It's night right now here. It's probably might be night where you are. I don't know when you're watching this. Go out under the night sky, whatever you can see of it, depending on where you are, and practice and say thank you to it. Go out under the night sky and say thank you to it. Very simple ritual. All right, 20, this is critical. Worship the inmost light, not external idols. Meaning, the kingdom of heaven is within. God is within you already. The voice of the silence, the star, the true will, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. The Atman. Right, whatever it is. It's already in you. The thing that quests for God is God. The thing in you that yearns for God is God. So worship it. Worship your inner, that thing, and worship doesn't necessarily mean, it means trying to get to it. Again, therapy, journaling, yoga, magic, whatever it takes, art, traveling around the world, go doing crazy shit just to understand who you are. That's how you worship it, right? And don't worship other people in the world. Trust me, I've met a lot of people in my life. I've met a lot of people who act like a big deal, and believe you me, they got all the same problems as you and probably a lot more. There's no one is free from the human condition. Right? But humans being what they are, they love to prop themselves up on a pedestal and act like they're a big deal, as if anyone cares, right? We're all dust in the end anyways, like who gives a shit? But people love to do that. They love to try to raise themselves above other people and get other people to worship them, to give them energy, like vampires. And people do it because people are unconscious and they're forgetting that their internal divinity and they're seeking for something outside themselves to fulfill themselves, which will never happen. And so they can easily fall into worshiping some guru, some rock star, some actor, somebody that they think is their idealized self, all the while not realizing that the only thing they're worshiping is their own ideas, their own projection of self onto that person. Right? That's idol. It's idol worship. The Ten Commandments say don't do that. Don't worship graven images. Why? Because you're missing the point. Right? That's not the infinite. That's not the infinite out. It's not the infinite within. It's an illusion. It's somebody else's dog and pony show. Don't get wrapped up in some asshole's dog and pony show. And also don't fall in love with this thing that you are, because that's going to go too. You know, you're a beautiful woman. Okay, give it 20 years, give it 30 years, right? You're a powerful businessman, titan of industry. Okay, give it 20 years, give it 30 years. You can't take it with you, right? So don't fall in love with the external manifestation of yourself also, because it's not yourself. It's a vehicle of yourself, but it's not your true self. So orient your devotion toward your deepest self and its union with infinite space rather than slavish worship of external authorities or dogmas. I'm going to read that again because this is critical. If you if you take nothing else away from this little talk, get this. Orient your devotion towards your deepest self and its union with infinite space rather than slavish worship of external authorities or dogmas. By the way, Magick and Thelema often, particularly when they're expressed by, it's like the shock troops of Magick are like 22-year-old frustrated guitarists. For some, I don't know why, it just seems to be that way. It's like when you look at people in their early 20s who are into Magick, they'll always be having this like whole anti-Christian, we got to tear it all down, like fuck the system thing. P.S. All that has done over the last 60 years has opened the door for an even worse theocracy. Hello. But that's not what it's about. Thelema's not even necessarily anti-Christian, right? It is against idol worship. And there's all kinds of churches and institutions claiming to have the gnosis that are just control systems, right? Magick is not against Christ consciousness. Christ, it's not, right? It just is saying, get to it. Do the work so that you can get to it, so that you can understand what it is. Don't get caught up in a dead system, right? The letter killeth while the spirit giveth life. Let's put it that way. The letter killeth while the spirit giveth life. Next, chapter 3 of the Book of the Law says, choose ye an island, fortify it, dung it about with enginery of war. Let the woman be girt with a sword before me, worship me with swords and with spears. What does this mean? It means you need to, once your will is established, once you know what it is, and you're working it out in the world, you better damn well defend it. Because, believe you me, people will test it, and people will try to fuck with it. Often because they're jealous, they're unconscious, they have no internal dialogue, they have no inner center. And they're so terrified by seeing somebody who does, that instead of working on themselves to bring theirs out, they just attack the thing, because if they can destroy it, now they don't have to do the work to get it. It's kind of that simple. So, you need to adopt the following, when you're doing your true will, you need to adopt the following mantra. And this is in Sanskrit, okay, so it's Sanskrit, so be careful with the pronunciation. You got to get it right, okay? If you pronounce this right, it doesn't exactly work. All right, and if anyone's a Sanskrit scholar, you can correct me on it. Okay, here's the mantra. Fuck around, find out. That's your mantra. That's the attitude you got to adopt. Meaning, you have to fiercely protect your self-expression in intellectual, emotional, and practical terms. Also, don't waste time. There's an acronym I just learned. JADE, justifying something. Basically, don't waste your time trying to explain yourself to other people. Because if they don't get it, don't explain it. And if they don't get a joke, fuck them if they can't take a joke. What's important is you doing your will because you know it's your will, not asking for permission from other people. Not proving to other people why you should do it. Because they don't know. Most of the people, let me tell you, most of the people on this planet are like halfway at animal consciousness. My dog is more conscious than most human beings. Both of them. Sorry, it just is how it is. There is hierarchy of consciousness, not of its core nature, but of its level of awakening. And it doesn't make one to be more aware, it doesn't make you better, but it sure makes it so that you have a lot more options in life. So have intense commitment to your work. Be strong. Have courage. Be willing to take it on the chin. Be willing to go chest first Be willing to go into the fight to defend what you know is right. You got to fight for your right to party. It doesn't mean literal violence, unless somebody's trying to kill you, in which it damn well better. All right. 6. Let's talk about the Book of the Law itself. Get you one. They're free on the internet. It's only 220 lines. Google it. Okay, if you haven't read it, Google it, please. So very famously, the Book of the Law says, the study of the book is forbidden if it's wise to destroy this copy after the first reading. And if you don't, and if you talk about it publicly and you try to interpret it, then you are a center of pestilence, which is, I guess, what I'm being right now. But what this actually means is the interpretation of this book, at the end of the day, is up to you. It's up to you. Nobody can come around and create some centralized authority on it. This is something that Thelemic did take from Islam, and I think is, well, let's put it this way. You see how persistent that religion is, and how impervious it is to reinterpretation. And every time it gets reinterpreted, it somehow becomes more extreme and more fundamentalist, right? Well, this is not an extreme fundamentalist text. It's a text of individual liberty, not slavery, which is what that text is. The text of enslaving the soul. Sorry. It is what it is. So, in the process of unveiling your true will, let me put it this way. This book scares people often when they first read it. There's a lot of stuff in it that is terrifying. But as one goes along and becomes more, one understands things more and more, one's path, one's, let's put it this way. They become more spiritually and emotionally mature and individuated. It becomes much more clear. And it's very, very useful, by the way, for there's a stage that people can get into, particularly if they go into Eastern mysticism a little bit too young, where they lose, there's lots of religions that, or fuck Islam, for the love of God. Oh Lord, oh Allah, please save us from Islam. There are a lot of religions out there that operate in a cult-like manner by erasing your individuality. And there are, by the way, spiritual practices in which you can become more, quote-unquote, enlightened by erasing yourself or things like that. But that can be a real trap. That can be a real trap. So this is a well-recommended rehab text for people who might have been in cults, who might have been caught up in some messianic or self-negating bullshit, people who are trying to reclaim their own individuality. This is a great rehab text for people who are trying to regain their own sense of individuality from a system, whether that's a religion, a cult, a family, a relationship, a dogma, a political movement, whatever it happens to be. Because there's lots of things in this world that will trick you very quickly into surrendering control. And that will teach you, will inculcate guilt in you if you stray from that system. Will inculcate guilt in you if you behave in a way that is contrary to the will of the group. That's a shit place to be. I've been there many times myself. That's a shit place to be. This is a great text for breaking out of that and seeing that God is also within your individual will. God is already in you, and you already have what you need. You already have the divinity trying to express itself through you. You don't need to give up the steering wheel to somebody else. You better not. And finally, number 23. We're going to end on 23 because why not? Just do it, man. Don't sit around talking about it. Like I'm doing this as a public outreach, but it says, conquer. That's enough. Success is your proof. How do you prove how do you prove this book is what it says it is? Follow it, and if it works, that's your proof. If it doesn't work, who cares? Throw it away, move on to the next thing. Because what's important is your identification with an expression of your divine center, not the slavish following. At the end of the day, it's still just another tool It still gets burnt along with everything else the alchemist owns at the end of the great work. It all goes, even that. But that's at the end, not the beginning. So don't get that twisted. Because people do get that twisted. They go straight into spirituality, and 10 days later they convince themselves they don't have to do anything and they're already God and enlightened. That ain't how it works. It ain't how it works. That simplicity comes after the complexity, not before. That simplicity comes after the complexity and the work, not before. So practically speaking, don't waste your damn life talking about Thelema. Quit talking about Magick. You don't want to be in my position, trust me. Don't waste your life in theological debates about Thelema, the OTO. Cut it out. Let your life be the proof. Don't obsess over the letter. The letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. Burn it. If you're attached to this, if this is controlling your life, that's got to go too. If you meet the Buddha on the side of the road, kill him. That doesn't mean people, by the way. That means like a porcelain Buddha statue or something. It means the inner projected thing. It means the idol you projected outside yourself that is you and that you've forgotten is you. Remember that you have the power. You have the power. All you have to do is remember that, by the way. You don't have to go begging somebody to turn that on for you. You just have to remember it because you already have it. The issue is that there's so many things that get in the way, particularly now. We live in both the best and the worst time for Magick. The best time because we can do this on YouTube. You have access to all the information. You don't need to go hunting for it. But the worst because there's more distractions than ever, and we're constantly looking at these devices that scramble our brains, and God knows what else. So, simply put, let the clarity, power, and results of your life and work be the demonstration of your understanding. Let the clarity, power, and results of your life and your work be the demonstration of your understanding. Okay, and there you have it, 23, and me. There you have it. That's about as simple as I can express it without it being overly reductive. I will turn on chat again and see if we have any good questions. And if not, we will wrap up for the night. But let me take a look at the chat I have been ignoring. Read some Henry Miller. That big Sir perv. Uh-oh, we got people misbehaving. Lazy Sorcerer says, I was born in an Islamic hellhole and freed myself from Islam. Congratulations. Seriously. I cannot imagine how hard that must be. I can't. I've never been in that situation, so I can't imagine that how hard that is. But also, what a testament to your willpower. What a testament to you. Congratulations. Yeah, Manessa says, hello, Manessa. Haven't seen you in a while. My Bible study throughout childhood was a helper primer for self-study of the Book of the Law. I don't consider my Christian upbringing a hindrance, but a prerequisite. Yeah, this is great. This is a misunderstanding that a lot of people have. Thelema is not anti-Christian. It's post-Christian in a way. All right. Yeah, Joker89 says, Nisargadatta Maharaj says, yeah, he's great, Nisargadatta. Yeah, by the way, if you want it, Thelema is not the beginning and the end. If you really want to be a Thelemite, you need to study and ideally practice as many religious and spiritual paths as you can. Because the point is not to follow a dogma. The point is to go out there and get tools to unveil divinity. And there's only one way. Yeah, you can get them out of books, but there's really only one way to do that, which is, again, throwing yourself out into the world and learning all this stuff. You know, there's no mistake that it's like, you know, so many magicians essentially become either credentialed or uncredentialed scholars of comparative religion. Because all, you know, it's like, I think the Book of the Law says, it's like all books are sacred, all prophets are true, save that they understand only a little. So the idea being, like, all these religions have expressed something of the truth, but we're monkeys, okay? We're fallible. We understand only a bit at a time. We didn't have space telescopes when the Bible was written, right? And religion should ideally keep up with all the advances in science and understanding instead of shun them, right? Just like humanity's knowledge increases of the material world, it also increases of the spiritual world. It does. Consider today's spiritual marketplace and all of the things in therapy and all these things you can get out there now versus what that would have, being a worm-eaten medieval peasant, right? Our spiritual understanding also increases, but that doesn't mean the prior expressions are immediately wrong, because you can get something from all of them. You can get a whole lot more out of books written 2,000 years ago than most of the shit that you consumed on a day-to-day basis on the internet. I guarantee that. And we got some crazies on the chat. Yeah. So, by the way, Crowley at one point says that the test to see if somebody is essentially on the level or not, the test to see if they are actually in line with reality, is to say to them, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." And any healthy or sane person, and you don't have to say it in that way. It's like any healthy or sane person will be like, yeah, I'm my own individual suffering adult. You're your own individual suffering adult. It's like we recognize each other, but we're not trying to dominate or save each other. Whereas, if you express that to unhealthy and broken people, they will immediately attempt either attacking it, disproving it, controlling it, or saying it's satanic. Yeah, Joker says, we are all lost and have ego, but we are also free and have the real self. Yeah, but the ego also is not bad. This is another misunderstanding that the boomers gave us from the acid days, right? Fucking Alan Watts. Never listen to that guy. Swata says, I didn't know I could understand Sanskrit. Yeah. Your ego's not bad. The lower self's not bad. It's just not your true self. But it's it's like trying to get rid of your ego is like trying to carve out your liver. You need that damn thing, right? The problem is just when it becomes idol worship. When you think that your ego, that neurotic thing that's constantly going, if you think that's your true self, you're going to have a hard time, right? But that thing, I guarantee you, when you do spiritual practice and you get further and further into that silence, that knowing silence, that ego shuts up. A really good way to experience this is go to a really potent church or temple or something that is clearly sacred and notice how that internal dialogue goes. It's like the barking dog goes calm. This is what spiritual practice can do. This is what you must cultivate. But the point is not to destroy the ego. It's just to make sure it's in its place. Somebody mentioned Jazz Coleman moving to Iceland. Awesome. Yeah, I love Killing Joke. Okay. Thank you for subbing, Attaining Spirituality. So that's what we got. Oh, some new questions. Did I read the Quran? Oh, I did. Yes, it sounded like somebody screaming and throwing pots and pans. What is your take on the Law of One and Golden Dawn's Israel Regardie versus Crowley? I found the Law of One quite interesting. I don't really know what to make of it, but I thought it was actually quite interesting when I read it, So it's worth looking at. Golden Dawn's Regardie versus Crowley. Regardie was Crowley's secretary. I don't know what to say there. Crowley and Regardie released the grade papers of the Golden Dawn as essentially a 1-2 punch, where Crowley summarized it in the Equinox, and then Regardie later published the rituals, not of exactly the Golden Dawn, but the rituals of the Stella Matutina in New Zealand. So I don't see that as is that like a who would win in a fight question? I don't know. What is the next step after meditation and banishing rituals are well practiced? I feel like it's easy to get lost in the weeds, yet banishing in single point of meditation can feel empty. Join Magick.me. There are tons of practices. There are tons and tons of practices in Thelema. There's devotional practices. There's so much. There's many, many, many answers to that. But keep reading, keep researching, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep engaging with life. Because life at the end of the day is the school that you are being, your soul is being educated in. If you meet it chest out, head on, mesh, as Genesis used to say, meet every situation head on. Meet every situation head on. Or another old Topi proverb, see a cliff, throw yourself off. Live your life. Live it. Live your life like a crash test dummy. Don't be afraid of it. Your life is God talking to you. Don't be afraid of it. Live it. Don't be afraid to undergo the hard parts. They're going to come. But existence is pure joy, and the sorrows are just shadows that pass away. All right. Last question. Oh, Spoonie McLuffin, how dare you compare me to Mark Ruffalo? That guy is such a twerp. Mark Ruffalo has revealed himself to just be a complete jackass in the last 5 years, and I feel very bad that I look like him. He's also like half my height, so there. KS Moon says, can you use tools like a birth chart to help point you towards your true will? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Look at the North Node. It's a good clue. Look at the North Node. All right, everyone. So just to remind you, Black Friday is coming up. We are announcing the Solstice Working, which will be a live 2-day working. Okay, and then I'm going to, one thing, and then I'm going to close this. Neon Fit says, how can you take seriously a group that fractured into different lineage and has been separated from original source? You mean like every religion on earth? I'll rest my case. Read the book. By the way, if it's not helpful, don't do it. No one's forcing you. Deal, you know? Black Friday is coming up. We will announce the Solstice Working. We are also going to have some incredible deals that I talk about a bit at the beginning of the video if you want to rewind and check that out. We will be announcing the deal on Thursday, and all I'm going to say right now is if you've been looking at things like Adept Initiative 1, Adept Initiative 2, Mastering Meditation, Introduction to Magic, some of like our best, most recent courses, and you've been on the fence because maybe they've been out of your price range, you're going to be very happy. You are going to be very, very happy. I've got a hell of a deal for you. Really, truly. We're going to announce that on the mailing list on Thursday. So if you're not on the mailing list, make sure to get on it. It is start.magick.me, like the title of this channel, start.magick.me. We're going to tell you what the deal is on Thursday, but you won't be able to get it till Black Friday. And that's going to be like the Stampede. There's one of the packages is limited to 50. Another package is limited to only 20. So it's first come, first serve. If you are a paid subscriber to this channel, even at the lowest tier, you could even be at the lowest tier, it doesn't matter. If you're a paid subscriber to this channel, you get to buy it early on Monday. So you get to make sure that you get it before everyone else snaps up the deal, and they will be snapping this one up, believe me. This is probably the best deal I've ever... It is the best deal I've ever offered. It is. Both in terms of... Excuse me, both in terms of the coupon and in terms of the actual content. You're going to have a great time. All right, everyone. I will see you very soon. Make sure you're on the mailing list. Make sure you are a paid supporter of the YouTube if you want early access. And make sure you check your inbox and the YouTube on Black Friday for sure. All right, everyone. Lots of love.